Kenya Congress. Oh my goodness, I've heard so much about you.
Awesome.
You are famous, at least in these parts, and because I hear now, I don't know, but I hear that you make the best funnel cake someone can put in their mouth. Is that
That's
true?
what I've been told.
Is it really?
Yes, that's what I've been told.
Well, I'm gonna royalty funnel cake. Is that it?
Royalty funnel cakes and more.
And more.
Mm-hmm.
Royalty funnel cakes and more. That's
Yes,
the name of your company. We'll talk about that because that's an amazing story in and of itself. But more importantly, today on Crossing the Line, we want to talk about you. And I thank you so much for being here. Thanks for coming over. We've just met personally,
Yes.
right? But I've heard so much about you. I felt like I knew you, and I'm looking forward to hearing your journey.
Thank you for having me.
Today. Oh my goodness, what a pleasure. So let's do this.
Okay.
Kenya, let's start back. I just want to talk about a day in the life of Kenya as a child. Would you take us back to your childhood? And we're just gonna hear your story if that's okay. And I may ask a couple of questions, but take us back to Kenya as a young child, as a 6-year-old, 7-year-old. What is that like? And who were you back then? What was your family like? Tell us.
I was definitely not as talkative back then. I grew up in Town Creek, Cortland area, and I lived with my grandmother at the age 6, 7. And I was barefooted. I love being barefooted. We were raised in the country, and I just love being barefooted.
Yes.
And I remember going picking blueberries behind my grandmother's house in this pasture. And we would go pick blueberries, and I would go across the street to the Dairy Queen. They just built and get ice cream and just different things like that. But I've always been a thinker, like a big thinker, and my thoughts always been, if I wasn't here, what would I be doing? And I can remember, and I was thinking of that a couple months ago, I could always remember even when I'm 11 and 12 and I'm back at my mom's, and I could think I'm outside by myself, no shoes, and I'm thinking, what happens when I'm 18? What I'm gonna do when I do this? And I've always had big dreams to do all types of things, and it's been one crazy ride.
Wow, so even at a young age, you've been a visionary.
Yes.
You were
Yes.
So in your home, how many siblings do you have, and where do you align in that order?
I am the oldest of 4 girls.
Oh my goodness.
I am the oldest of 4 girls. All of us are in our 30s now. All of us, except one, have kids, and it's like I still feel like I'm like their mom. I feel like they should listen to me, but they don't. They don't listen to me.
Right.
I feel like they should.
They should listen to you.
I am. But I feel like we grew up in the same house.
Mm-hmm.
But you know how you grow up as siblings, then you just you make your own decisions. You're different. You have a different personality. And so I look at them and I'm like, gosh, we could do so many things. Like we could change so many lives,
Yes.
And so that's where I am. I'm trying to instill some things in them to just push them to do some more things too.
So you're still leading them. You're still
Yes,
leading
definitely.
your
That
siblings.
is my job as the oldest.
Oh my
That
goodness.
is my job, yes. Yes.
So in your home growing up, did that thought process as the oldest, did they ever say, you're trying to boss us, or you're trying
They tell me that my sister that's next to me, I think she told me that maybe 2-3 days ago. She tells me that probably once a week. You're not my mama, Kenya. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, but are you gonna do it? Like, are you gonna do it the way I just told you it should be done? So yes, because I feel like us on the outside looking in, no, we don't know everything, but we've seen some things, and that's the same thing I try to tell my kids. I know you don't think that, you think, oh, she's just old and she's just trying to tell me what to do, but I've experienced some things that I'm trying to keep you from experiencing.
Come on.
So just listen to me. They don't listen still,
No.
but
you're trying.
yes.
So all right, so you're in the country. You grew up with 3 sisters.
3 sisters.
Yeah. And what did your parents do? What was were you a farmer?
My dad was a farmer. My mom's always been a stay-at-home mom. My dad was a farmer, and we always went down to his job, and especially when he would come home on the tractor. We would always run out to the tractor and try to play around with those things. So yeah, he was always up the street. He was always close to home. So yeah, we kind of had
you grew up being outside a lot.
Yes.
And loving the outdoors, loving barefoot, being barefoot, and experience. And then, so you went through, you're going to elementary school starts, you're doing that, working on the farm, I guess, with your dad when he allows that. And then the wonderful junior high years. Tell us about that.
Well, we didn't have quite a junior high in
Okay.
Cortland. We had kindergarten through 8th grade, 7th grade, and then 7th through 12th. We didn't have a middle school.
Okay.
So junior high was very different. You're leaving all the teachers who were so, loving and compassionate, and
Yes.
you having to go to big girl school. And it was different. We didn't stay in the city. We stayed in the country, so we were kind of shied away from everyone. So it was just us. It was just me and my sisters. And so we didn't do the sleepovers and the parties and different things like that. It was just always us. And so growing up, it didn't seem different. It wasn't nothing that we were missing out on because it was nothing that we had ever experienced. So it wasn't a big deal when people would have birthday parties because we never knew about it. But when we had birthday parties, we had one up until we were 13, 14, and it was always us. We always got gifts. Mom always made hot dogs and chips. So we never knew we were missing out on it. It was just something, and I think it's with social media today, it's something you see that kind of changes your vision of the world. But back then things were so innocent, and I think about that a lot now. I think about how as 7th and 8th grade, I wasn't exposed to so much stuff, and so my mindset now is still like, I'm not gonna say it's innocent, but I still don't view things as deep as a lot of people do because I wasn't exposed at at an early age as a lot of kids are now.
I want to jump ahead just a second because I have a question.
Yes.
You have children.
I do.
So think about the exposure your children have versus the exposure you have.
Yes, and that's
What
the
do you
same. That's the same with, I have, my son will be 23 this year. I have a daughter that will be 21, and I have a son that's fixing to be 16. He's had more exposure, being the youngest, than they did because my oldest didn't get a phone in the 5th grade.
Right.
Like he didn't have well, they're younger now getting phones, but he didn't get a phone that early, or they wasn't allowed to go to the movies by themselves at an early age or go places.
Right.
So he's exposed to more now than they were. It's so much more out there. So yeah, it's a very different thing than what like I'm still learning the language, and the Texas, and I'm like, okay, why you didn't spell it out? What is that? So I'm still learning what it means.
I'm with you.
And I write my daughter and I said, what does this mean? Because somebody posted this and it's just 3 letters. Like, well, what is this?
Yeah.
And so it's different for them to be exposed to so much, and it's good in a way, and it's very bad in a way.
That's right. Can you imagine though, as you were on the farm as a 10, 11, 12-year-old, having the exposure that the kids have today? Can you imagine if you had access to all the mess that our children are exposed to today?
Yeah,
it's kind of scary.
It's very scary. It is definitely very scary.
All right, so who were you in that high school? In those high school years, who were you?
I was quiet. I wasn't really loud. I only talked to a few people. We wasn't middle class. We wasn't poor. We was getting by.
Getting by.
Love it. And so I didn't talk to a lot of people. We never had a big family. So I wasn't exposed to even a lot that my friends were exposed to. Like things they were talking about, they were doing, I would chime in on it, but I had no idea what I was talking about. We didn't have cable. Like I didn't get cable till I was 19 years old.
What, 19?
I was 19 when we first got cable, and I had moved out at that point. So that's when I got cable. I didn't go skating till my son was like 3 or 4. So I didn't do those things. Like I went to the movies once with my church when I was younger. Like we didn't do those things. We wasn't exposed to those things. It was more family oriented.
Wow.
And so it's so hard for me now to said my son, okay, I cooked, come by. I'm cooking just so you'll come by, because everybody's living their life. But back then we were just so family oriented, and it wasn't all these places to go or all these beaches to go to. It was just you and your family, and that was like so different.
Yeah, that is, and you were quiet during those times.
Yes, I was very quiet. Like I just felt like not my opinion didn't matter, but no one asked.
Sure,
so why am I talking? Yeah.
But you had dreams. You were visionary.
I wrote all the time.
Tell me about that.
I wrote, and I still to this day, I have oh gosh, so many tablets and notebooks and journals, and it's just different businesses, different visions, different things we can do in the community, different businesses that can be open. And will I do them all? Absolutely not.
No,
but those are things that I do believe God keeps fresh on my mind. I do believe that those are things that He says, okay, maybe you won't do it, but maybe you'll be able to help someone else to do it. So that's my goal. That is definitely my goal this year, is to help someone to succeed in one of their visions, one of their dreams that God has put on their heart.
Oh my goodness! Because you have these dreams, you
Absolutely.
understand it,
Yes.
and you wrote them down.
Lots of
So
them.
I'm just curious, as a teenager in high school, could you see things that you wanted? Could you dream? Did you have that kind of vision as
Yes.
a teenager that you could look and say, "Wow, this could happen," or "Boy, that could."
I've always had big dreams. I've always had big dreams and no money. Like, always been my thing.
Yes, I resemble that.
I've
Yes.
always had big dreams. Like, I can remember in the 11th grade, I was writing and I wanted a snack shop. And I just wanted like different snacks and different things that I could sell.
Right.
And I had my community of people I was going to sell to, and my people I was going to ask to buy. And then after that, I remember I was just going to do nothing but hot dogs. And, hot dogs are inexpensive, so I broke it down. If I get a pack of hot dogs, they were 79 cents. I'll never forget. They were 79 cents. And if I sell them for 50 cents each, and the bun costs this much, it was a breakdown process. And that's how my mind's always worked. Like, if I could just do this, or if I could just start this will help with this. And so that's always been my thing. Like, I write everything down.
And you have an entrepreneurial mindset.
Yes.
You said you were breaking it down, looking at the cost. If I do this,
Yes.
and started your hot dog stand. Huh?
Yes. That's what I wanted to do. And it's been so many things, one after the next. And then I got more involved. I've been going to church forever. And so I got more involved in the church, and there was this thing called outreach. And I'm like, outreach? What is outreach? And that's when I knew God gave me a servant's heart. Oh my gosh, just to help other people and give into the community. And then it was like, I probably was 22, 23 when I realized that that's not me. That is something God has put into my heart to do. And so that made it even sweeter. Like, He trusts me with His people. Like, that is pretty cool. God trusts me. So outreach became something so big to me, because I always felt like no matter what I gave out, I wouldn't miss it. I mean, physically seeing it, I'll probably miss it, but God will always make sure I'm taken care of. And it's never failed. It has never failed.
That's called faith.
Yes,
My goodness,
definitely.
do you ever have it? That's amazing to me.
Definitely.
But it's not always been easy for you.
No.
So back in high school, quiet teenager, quiet Kenya, but got through, graduated. Pick it up there.
Graduated, married. I got married right after high school. His father and I, it was two. We had two kids. And I kind of felt like I could get money fast. So I started selling drugs. Sold drugs for a while. Got mixed up with some wrong people. Someone stole something, and I gave them a ride. I think it was like 7 hours later. Gave them a ride. Didn't realize. I knew they stole something. Just didn't realize that me giving them a ride. They just left, like went to another apartment complex. And when I was asked, did you give them a ride? I was like, yeah, I gave them a ride. Did they give you money? Yeah, they gave me $10 for gas. It's like, yeah. So I was arrested. I was really mad about it. I was really rebellious about that. So I didn't pay the restitution because he went to prison. So if he went to prison, all his restitution fell on me. So I was really bitter about that. And I refused to pay it. I was like, I'm not paying his. And I paid $10. Like, that's all I got, and that's all I paid. Well, needless to say, I was put on probation, and the judge called me back in, and he was like, look, if you don't pay it, we're going to send you to prison. And I was like, I'm not paying it. Well, I'm like, you can't send me to prison for not paying restitution. They sent me to prison for not paying restitution.
Oh, my Lord. How old were you?
I was 27. I was 26. But let me tell you, that was the best experience of my life. I know it sounds crazy, but I would tell anybody. I was selling drugs. I was sleeping in my car at times because we had lost our place, and it was just like a struggle. But I went to church every Sunday, I was never a tither. I never tithe because I'm like, why am I giving the pastor my money? You know, it was no explanation of, you know, me giving to the man of God that feeds me. No one explained it to me why I'm tithing. So I was just out there and living a life with 3 small kids. Like, I have 3 young kids, and my mom's helping. And so when I heard him say, you're turned over to the Department of Corrections, I'm thinking they're gonna book me in, I'm gonna get a bond, and I'm gonna go home. And so when I get back there and they say you don't have a bond, and my mom was like, well, you might probably have to wait until Monday for them to give you a bond. And I'm in there like 2 weeks, and I'm like, Mom, they brought me a paper saying that I have like 5 years in prison. Like, I cannot be away from the kids 5 years. What am I gonna do? And I had a whole come apart. Like, but I never cried. I didn't cry. I immediately started reading my Bible. I read the Bible like 5 or 6 times, front and back. Still didn't really understand what I was reading. When I got to Tutwiler, every pod I was in for the 4 months, it was around Christian women, women that had Bible studies, women that prayed, women that encouraged me. And it was God telling me, look, I need to sit you down because I have something else for you. But if I let you go too far, you're going to be too far gone and you're not going to want to come back. And so in that process of going to work release, I had a dream the night before. And it was this big old lady with this thing tied around her head. And we were going down this long dirt road, and she walked in and she said, it's okay because you're close to home. And I go to work release the next day. Didn't know I was going to work release. And we go down this long dirt road, and it was this black lady sitting there. And she said, what are you doing here? You're not even supposed to be here. And she was like, hopefully you'll go home soon. And 3 weeks later, I was at home.
Oh my goodness.
I was literally at home. So I'll tell anybody, that ride I took, that was God destined. I needed that so God could save my life.
Oh my
I needed
goodness.
that ride to save my life.
That's right. Now, there's something in you, though. You talk about leadership. You talk about entrepreneurial and vision that you have. But Kenny, there was something inside of you that said, I'm not paying that restitution. What was it? What made you decide to just draw that line and say,
because
I'm not doing it?
I just felt like I had never been in trouble. So I didn't know the law, and I just felt like it was unfair. Like I was being treated unfair, and you can't make me pay for something that I didn't take. Like, I was honest with you. I told you he gave me $10. Like, I took him 2-3 miles up the street. You can't charge me with this, and it's no law of, you know, you 2 people together and you didn't do it. No, you both get charged with the same thing. And so I got charged with the same thing. We got a lawyer. Of course, my charges were reduced because, you know, the guy wrote a statement and said, no, she wasn't there. She had nothing to do with it, but they had already charged me. So it was nothing. So yeah, I had a felony on my record.
And how long did you stay at Tutwiler in prison?
4 months. I stayed there 4 months.
And so I just have to ask, so they fought, so they let you go home. What about the restitution? Did you have to end up?
I paid every dime of it.
You had to pay it.
I paid every dime of the restitution. Yeah. Every dime of the restitution, I paid it. And I came home on a SRP program. It was crazy.
No,
and I'm
I don't know what that is.
It's just a program where you have to be in the house by 8 p.m.
Oh, okay.
You have to call in and let them know that you're there. You have to take a drug test. They can pop up whatever time in the morning, give you a drug test if you're home. Well, I was supposed to be on there for 3 years. My Sergeant White, he was like, you're getting on my nerves. Like, you work too much. Like, it's impossible to keep up with you. But I'm like, well, I'm a single mom with 3 kids. Like, I worked from 10. No, I paid that as soon as I got out.
Did you?
I paid it completely in full. I owed nothing.
Oh my
yes,
goodness.
I owed nothing. And so I would report, but I worked from 10 a.m. sometimes to 11 p.m. at night. Like, I had people from church bringing my kids to my job to let me help them with their homework or to see them before they go to bed, because I had rent, I had utilities, I had car insurance. So I'm taking care of these 3 kids, and I needed to work. So he would come by my job and he was like, okay, you're at work. So that happened for about 4 or 5 months, and he came by my house about 6 o'clock one morning, and he said, I have to give you a drug test. And I said, okay, good. So I got a drug test, and he said, I want you to meet me at the courthouse at 8 p.m. At 8 a.m. I was like, okay. So I go to the courthouse, and he was like, "This is your new probation officer, and I'm taking you off this program. You report to them once a month." And he said, "After 6 months, we're just going to take you off of parole. We don't want to deal with you no more." Well, after 3 months, they took me off parole because they told me I was really boring. So they took me off of parole after 3 months, and I was completely done with it. I have not been in any trouble since, and that was 11 years ago.
Kenya.
So yes,
And this is amazing. Your integrity, your work ethic. Even though you made some bad calls, as we all do, but you made some bad calls. Probably unjustly had to pay, in my opinion, the restitution, but you continue to work hard.
I have no choice. What else is it to do? Like, I have 3 people looking up to me. Like, I have 3 people. Like, I didn't have anyone to look up to growing up. You know, every dream that I wanted, everything that I desired, I had no one that was putting their foot forward to do those things. I had nothing to look forward to.
You had nobody to do that, but you did it. So you've got it. Let's have an honest conversation for just a minute. You could have chosen. Here you are, black female, put into the penal system for a minute nothing, right? But yet here you go. You could have become a victim.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely.
So help me to understand what caused you to say, because you just told me that ride saved my life. Best thing that ever happened to me. I was in. How in the world did you get that perspective when you had been treated unfairly, maybe even by the court system, and given but yet that's not how you view it. You view it. I'm so thankful I gave him that ride. Explain it.
After that, after getting out, I met my husband.
After getting out.
After getting out, about 4 or 5 months later, I met my husband. We've been together since.
Been together since.
Yes. My youngest son, he was 11. My oldest son was 11. And one day we were sitting on the bed when he was about 13. My husband and I were already together. They loved him, he loved them. And they were telling me things that I had done. Like, I didn't work. Like, when I met my husband, I didn't really work up until phone case. Like, I didn't have to work. I was able to take them to school, pick them up, everything. I didn't work. And my son said, "Yeah, I remember that time when the people would come to the back door, and I know what you were selling, or I know what you were doing."
Goodness.
And my daughter was like, "Yeah, I remember the time that it smelled funny. Like, I know what you were doing." And they were just talking in conversation, and they're laughing, but inside I want to cry because I've shown them the way. So I have a young black man that's fixing to be a teenager. What do I show him?
Come on.
I'm the person. He has a father, he has a dad who works every single day. His stepdad works every single day. But what do I show him? The person that he sees, the person that when his stomach hurts, he calls. You know, when something goes on in school, he calls. What do I show him? And so I knew then, no matter what I did in the future, I couldn't let them see me being the person that says, "Oh my gosh, I have a felony, so there's nothing I can do now," or "I went to prison, so oh woe is me." You know, that's not who I am. So I had to show them that no matter what has happened in your past, that doesn't define your future. You define your future. You call out what your next is, not the next person. Not the person said, "Oh, you can't work here," although you went through orientation because we found out you have a felony. I didn't go home mad about that. It was plenty of jobs that I went to orientations for free to find out after I worked the night, "You can't work here because you have a felony." I didn't go home and complain about that. I went to the next job until I found out what worked for me. I've sold everything from Avon to Tupperware to lipsticks to makeup to anything you can name to help my family. Because they told me I couldn't work certain jobs because I have a felony, because I messed up in my past, then no one else is going to give me a chance in my future because I have a felony. So the good stuff is gone from me because I have a felony. I wasn't going to let that stop me.
Wow.
Because that's what they say. That's
right.
not what I say.
That's what they say. That's not who you are.
No,
That's not
absolutely not.
And it's been hard. You've had to work, even after prison, you've had to really work hard just to gather enough money to take care of your family at times. Huh? And you're not afraid of that.
No, absolutely not.
That's amazing.
Listen, Paul said I've learned to be content in any stage. And I've had a lot. I know what it's like to scramble for change to get bread. I know what it's like to have an overflow of bread. So whatever situation I'm in, I know it can't stay like that. I know because who my daddy is, he's gonna take care of me because he owns a cattle on 1,000 hills.
That's right.
So it can't stay like this. I just have to believe in where I am at that moment that he's gonna bring me out on the other side. That's it.
That is powerful.
That's all I have to do.
You know, Kenya, you are an amazing leader. That is a powerful story. More powerful though is your thought process, your heart, your willingness to not become a victim. And in a culture today where it's easy to become a victim,
Yes.
it's easy. And quite frankly, we are in a unique situation where change must occur and change is occurring. But people like you who say, I mean, you're out there leading the way. You've had a very difficult life. If you look at where you've been, I mean, how many people can say, you know, gosh, I ended up in prison as a 20-something-year-old. But you say, I'm looking at that and I'm learning from that. I'm looking at that and it changed my life. I'm looking at that and God had to stop me to tell me
Yes.
who I am. And I'm determined more than ever not to be that person that I was. That I want to be the person that my children can know loves them and is there for them and that hard work ethic. That's amazing to me.
And I think they caught on. Like my son, both of them, like those oldest two. My son just started an inflatable business. He's a welder. He also wants to do over the road. He wants to do, he's bought a dually truck. He's bought his own trailer. These are things that he saved up to do himself. He wants to be an entrepreneur. My daughter has her phlebotomy certification. She's fixing to enroll back in nursing school.
Good.
So these are things that I know if I had sat back and said, oh my gosh, I have a felony, you know, I'm just gonna go work over here and just put my head between my legs. Those kids would have been like, oh, well, I'm just gonna go get a job over here and just work, you know, and just live paycheck to paycheck. Okay, is something wrong with that if that's your mindset? Absolutely not. If that's what you want, then fine, live paycheck to paycheck. But I've also instilled in them, if you live paycheck to paycheck, what happens if your car breaks down? You know, it's going to get further behind because that paycheck only covers what you've already got under it. So there's nothing else can fit under the umbrella. That's it. So you need to make sure that you have a setup plan. And I tell them all the time, yeah, it's fun to go out and travel and do things, but what happens when you come back? Did you take your travel money out of your savings and that's it? Did you deplete it to go have fun? We have to instill things in them that no one else is going to teach them.
Oh, that is brilliant.
We have to. Who's going to do it? No one taught me. No one taught me.
Right.
I watch people. I watch things. Like, I've never had a friend my age up until now. I have one friend that's 40-something, and this is the first time in my entire life that I've had a friend my age. My first time. One of my best friends, she's fixing to be 70.
How about that?
They've always been older. Every one of them has been at least 20, 30 years older than me. And I watch them, even when they're talking about marriage. I don't say nothing, I just listen, you know. Or if they're talking about, their kids are 40 and 50. So when they're talking about what their kids did at a younger age or how their kids messed up. And one of them said one day, she said, I was in a habit of telling my daughter, don't do this, don't do that, don't do this, this is how I messed up. And she said, but all I did one day was I told her, okay, if you do this, this is going to happen, and we're going to have to figure a way out of it. I didn't fuss anymore. She did it, it messed up, we had to figure a way out of it. So the very next time when we had a conversation, she was more attentive to what I said versus, well, I know what I'm doing. She said, you don't have to fuss all the time. The Bible says train them up in a way that they should go. And when they're old, they won't depart. She said, so they're going to listen, they're going to hear it, they're going to take it in, and they're going to use it when the time is right.
You listen to that and learn.
Yes.
You listened and learned. That's
and
amazing.
So all of my older friends, I just sit back and listen. I don't have to say anything. We've taken trips together. I'm like 27, 28, and I'm in the car with 60-year-olds having a blast. And I'm just listening. And that's why, you know, it's okay to sit back and just be quiet. You know, you can walk in the room in silence and change the whole mood of the room because your presence is there. You don't have to say anything. Wow. It's just in your presence.
Kenny, you're something else. You are an amazing.
Else.
I got another question for
Yes.
you, and I want to just delve into this a bit
Okay.
because you have such strong and incredible insight and wisdom from listening to those that are older than you. But how are we doing? You're here in Alabama,
Mm-hmm.
and as an African American woman, with your business, we'll talk about it before we end this podcast.
Okay.
We're going to talk about that. It's exciting and wonderful. But how are we doing with our racial prejudice right now? Are we making progress?
That is so crazy.
Are we not? Give us. I don't have the right to answer that question.
That
You do.
is so crazy. So my husband, they say I'm naive. They say it a lot because I feel like everybody loves me. I don't care who it is.
Well, that's easy to figure out.
You should love me because I'm nice. I just feel that way. And I speak to everyone. I don't care who it is. You don't have to like me. You love me. You just don't know it yet. And so I ran into my first incident a couple weeks ago. I was somewhere and I was invited, and someone whispered and said, I didn't know it was a black lady that owned it. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I didn't know what to do. And I'm like, huh. And so we had the whole conversation. I was there. It was a great event. And I walked by her and I said, you guys have a great evening. And I said, yes, I'm a woman of color and I own Royalty Funnel Cakes and More. We just franchised in Huntsville and we're fixing to open our third location. And you should come by and see us because we do great things in our community.
I love it.
But if I was not a woman of color, I probably would have the same heart. So my heart is not colored. It's the same color.
Did you say that?
And I left.
I love that.
But I got invited back. they emailed me yesterday, so I got invited back. So it wasn't bad.
Amazing.
But I don't think, in our community, I don't think it's changing much. We can see the things that take place for the public, but underneath, it's not changing much. People's hearts has to change. You can change things by implementing rules, changing dates for people of minority to celebrate, but it has to be a heart change.
You can't legislate it, can you?
No,
And you
it
can't-
has to be a heart change. These are things that are taught. These are things that are
That's right.
instilled in our younger people. My kids used to play basketball and they're getting called names on the court in certain places that we play ball. I have my 15-year-old, his favorite people in the world look like you. And I tried to explain to him, even after the George Floyd thing, you can't take everybody into stride just because they're like them. Like, he loves that family. I don't know if I can call their name, but he loves that family. And Tim them are amazing. I love that family, but everybody's not going to treat him like they do.
Mm-hmm.
My grandbaby, his father looks just like you. And I love his dad. But everybody's heart isn't the same because some people are taught color. They're not taught love. They're taught color. And to be taught color is to be taught hatred.
That's right.
I can't see color because I don't know what color God is. So if I don't like you because you're white,
Hey,
what if God's white? If I don't like you because you're Hispanic, I can't see color. I have to look at the heart.
I love
I
that.
can't, I mean, I
That's
don't
beautiful.
care what color you are. You're not white, that's white.
That's right. Oh,
Right.
no. That's
Yeah,
exactly right.
So
That's
what are we looking
exactly
at
right.
color for? You have to look at the heart, and until everybody looks at the heart, racism isn't going to change. We're still going to look at people with locks as gangster and black men with gold teeth and long dreads. We're not going to look at them as professionals. We're going to look at them as thugs, and that's how it's portrayed. No matter how we look at it, how we try to dress it up, we're going to look at it as, like, if my son walked in here right now, you wouldn't look at him as a businessman, no matter how hard, not you, but in general,
Understand.
no matter how hard he's trying to be professional,
Yeah.
and he'll call me before he talks to someone about a rental sometimes. Mama, does this sound right? Does this sound right? He has to be taught. If you get pulled over, you immediately tell Siri to call me. Like nothing else. You call me. You don't pick up nothing. You call me so I can come to where you are. That's a sad thing to have to tell my son. I cannot allow my 15-year-old to go play basketball because I'm picking him up before it gets dark. You can't be a black child walking down. It's sad, but it's true. I don't care how we look at it. It's sad. Is everyone like that? Absolutely not. No, they're not.
Right.
But we have some people that has been taught that. They don't even know why they don't like certain races.
Right.
They have no idea.
You're right.
It's just they've been taught that. So it's the older generation is dying off, but what about the ones that's still been taught that?
That's what I'm
I
wondering.
mean, what are we gonna do about that?
Will that next generation have a better heart perspective?
I think it'll get easier.
Yeah.
I think it'll get easier because they're not going by experiences, and the only reason the old generation is going by experiences is because of what they were taught and what they saw.
Yeah.
I mean, how you not like me because I'm black? Like,
Yeah.
not because you've never had
Right.
a conversation with me because I'm black, or you don't frequent my establishment because I'm a black woman that owns it. What does it matter? Come because you like funnel cakes. Come because I pay people utility bills in the community. I help people with their rent. I help different organizations in our community. Come for that reason.
That's
Don't
right.
come because of the color of my
That's
skin.
right.
Come for that reason. But until we see a heart change, we won't see racism change.
Yeah, I think that is a brilliant statement, incredibly wise. You are wise beyond your years. and I think you've nailed it. As long as we keep seeing color, it's not going to change.
Mm-mm.
That's so true.
No.
And I think leading with our heart, and that's who you are, and it's so evident.
We have to.
And you're not just talking that though. You are living that because you are giving back to the community.
I do.
Tell me about that. What are you doing?
We do a lot in the community. I've always been a giver. I had a nonprofit where I housed homeless women and children here in Decatur. We closed it down. It caused me to lose everything. They repossessed my cars.
Oh, wow.
I lost my home. I ended up staying in an extended stay for a year with my family. We lost everything trying to keep that place open. No one knew it. No one knew that I was helping homeless women, but I too was homeless. No one knew that because at the end of the day, I still smiled. I still did what I needed to do. I still was at church. I still was ministering because it wasn't about me. It was not, and I believe, not to sound conceited, but it's about me now. But it wasn't about me then.
Right.
God had those people. That was my purpose to get here. And so we lost everything, and it was a hard thing, and I was kind of mad because I'm like, okay, God, why? Like, you put me here, so why is everything gone? And so when we opened Royalty Funnel Cakes and More, it was like, if I could just make $500 a day, I could help my husband, and we can eventually move. You know, he's paying everything. He's taking care of the kids. If I could just make $500 a day. So we opened, and I had nothing. Like, there wasn't my equipment that I opened with. It wasn't my mix. It wasn't my utensils. It was Joe's Deli. Miss Connie let me use all of her stuff to open. I opened and quadrupled what I wanted to make that day.
Oh my goodness.
Quadrupled. I was able to get all of my stuff I needed, and from that point on, we've just been moving forward.
Here we go.
And so we do a lot in the community because it's not mine. It is not mine to hover and set up and let the cankerworms eat. You know, I'm okay. So we have people out here that's hurting. So I want to be the person that I needed when I needed help. That is my goal. I want to be that person. So when people write me about a utility bill, we're selective when we do utility bills because we don't want to come or interfere with community action or different things like that. And we're selective, but we want to make sure that we're giving back into the community that supports us. And so we pay utility bills, we buy groceries, we help with community events, we help with different things. We started this thing, Community Doers. So every month or every 2 weeks, we recognize somebody in the community that's doing good work, and we give them a Community Doer t-shirt. We put them on our page and let people sow into whatever their next mission is to help the community. And I just feel like it doesn't stop with just me. Like, we have to recognize the people that's doing stuff and let them know that there's more organizations out there that's helping, that's giving. Like, we have a place here that people that's always looking for counseling and different things. We have resources, but who knows about them? My minority people don't know about Eagle's Nest unless they're contacted with DHR or something like that.
Yeah.
So they don't know.
They don't know what we have.
No.
And you are passionate about not only growing your business, but continuing to serve the community.
Yes.
And I hear that passion.
I think it has to be more than just money. Like, it has to be more than money. I know people see the lines and stuff, but when I see the lines, I'm thinking, okay, so we're going to set this aside to do this, and we're going to do this, and then, well, maybe we could just sow $10,000 into an entrepreneur at the end of the year. So that is my goal for the end of the year. I just want to sow into somebody that has a dream and been sitting on that dream and been sitting dormant. I want to help you get to your next.
Come on,
I
that is
help you.
amazing.
Yes.
That's amazing. So tell me, and just as we wrap this, I could talk to you all day. You are an amazing, what an amazing woman, what an amazing leader. But wait a minute, before we go, I got a couple of things just to run by you. First, tell us about your royalty. You mentioned that you're franchising, but tell us about royalty, funnel cakes, and more. What are you doing? Give us a kind of 30,000 foot view of your business and where it's going.
Okay. So we've been open a year. We just celebrated a year. We just franchised our first location in Huntsville in February. We're looking to open our third location in June or July.
Can you say where?
Moulton.
Oh my goodness,
Yes.
that's great.
And we're looking to franchise in Birmingham in the fall. We have someone who's interested in that.
Birmingham, wow.
So yes, so our business is, I'm not gonna say it's family owned, but it's family owned. I'm the only owner, but everybody that works for me is family. They're not related. Everybody isn't related, but they're family. I have a Hispanic girl that works for me. She's like my daughter. Like, I feel like we take workers and that's what they are. They're just workers. So they come in and they do their job and they go home. But I feel like if you take the workers and you train them, and college is not for everyone. So my hope is maybe there's someone that's working for me now that can run my Decatur location so I can move my daughter to my Moulton location. Or maybe there's someone that's working for me. So, hey, Miss Kenya, I don't have the $30,000 for a franchise, but I've been saving, so I have X amount. Well, hey, let's take that and work with it. I want bosses working for me. I don't want people working for me that wants a paycheck. I want somebody that wants to go somewhere. Like, I have one of my young lady who I'm giving $1,000 scholarship to as soon as she graduates. She's going to A&M. She knows where she's going. We're going to give her $1,000 scholarship. Do what you need to do for school. That's what it's about. Like, that's what funnel cakes is about. I found my niche. Like I said, I've sold
It sounds like
everything. And I feel like God is giving me something amazing. And I'm not going to keep it to myself. I don't care what people say. I help people say, well, yeah, I don't get to heaven giving it all away. Well, duh, I only get to heaven through Jesus. I know how I'm going to get to heaven.
That's
I don't
right.
need you to tell me that.
That's right.
But I know what I'm doing for the kingdom. So we have to have that mindset. Like, we have to have that mindset. And if we all get on that same page, who's going to be hungry? Who's going to be homeless?
Come on.
Like, no one.
And we might even change a few hearts along the way,
Yes,
right?
yes. And we're going to change some hearts. We are going to change. All we have to do is just keep loving.
That's right.
That's all we have to do.
That is it. Kenya, you are amazing. You are incredible.
Well, thank you.
What a leader. But before I let you go, I know you're busy. You got so much going on. I want you to answer this question for me. There are a lot of leaders out there, young leaders trying to make it, going through hard things, maybe just like you. They're in a season of struggle, or maybe they're just trying to make it, trying to figure out who they are, these aspiring leaders. What would you say? Give me just a couple of tips that you would say to these young leaders who are trying to figure things out, and what do they need to know, in your opinion, in order to make it, in order to be, I'll put quotes around this, successful. How you define that, and you certainly are incredibly successful. What do they need for that?
Is it what you really want? You have to know, is that something that you really want? Because if it's not something that you think about all day, if it's not something you're constantly looking up, writing down, then let it go, because you're wasting your time. But to be successful in anything, you have to have a drive to go get it. You have to be able to take the no's, and if you can't turn them into yes, go to the next door until you find a solid yes. But if you don't have the willpower to take a no and to turn it into your own yes, then you're going to be stuck dormant. You have to have people pushing you, and if they're not pushing you, you don't ever get mad at the people that don't support you. Don't ever get mad, because sometimes God wants you to understand that He needs to be the only person supporting you, so He can be the only one get the glory. So go forward, go hard, and do not give up.
You are amazing. Those are words of wisdom. Those are golden, and I hope that we stopped and wrote that down if you're listening. But thank you for
Thank you for having me.
Amazing lady, and I'm looking forward to what else God is going to do through
Yes.
you. And it's been just my honor. It's been a joy to have you here today on Crossing the Line. Thanks,
you.
Kenya. You are crossing the line, and you are incredibly
Thank you
making
so
a
much.
difference.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you.